In the wrestling world, the people are represented by two separate but unequally important groups. The wrestlers and bookers, who literally do all the hard work, and the fans, who endlessly nitpick and overanalyze everything they do. These are their stories.
Hey! It's Warhorse, and you need to shut your mouth, open your eyes, and clean out your ears, because it's time to listen to the Raw and Order podcast. That's right, they're bringing you the best in all that meaty podcasty goodness in one, what is it, an hour? Two? Who cares? Who gives a shit? You need to listen to it right now, or else Warhorse is gonna, I don't know, roll your ass!
And welcome to Raw and Order, the wrestling booking unit, the only wrestling podcast on the planet that is thinking about making up its own award so we can call ourselves award-winning. I am your host, Detective Mark Smarks, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime fighting, District Attorney Vincent Kayfabe. What's going on, man? How are you?
We are award-winning. We gave out an award. We gave out an award to Cheerios,
For being
regular
shitty.
box Cheerios, because they won the survey.
I mean, they won by only one vote because
I was
apparently
the other
nobody wanted to vote.
But it was important to me.
Yes.
I'm sure that somebody on that pod saw it and was like, "Well, what about Lucky Charms?" And to them, I say, "Nay, nay, sir, nay, nay."
Yes, nay. I say nay. Sorry, I had an idea for a shirt design and I started working on it. And
Shirt design. Are you
Yes.
suggesting that we have shirts?
yes, we have lots of shirts. Look at these lovely
Oh.
shirts we have. We have
I wanna-
the new shirts just put up, like wrestling. Let's talk about it. I mean, if you're familiar, that was actually going to be the original concept of this podcast, and then we changed it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause
Or
somebody else had it already.
Or you can tell Vince exactly what you think of him and his booking of a certain demon king.
Where are we
And
going?
I've been working on the Nebraska America's Belly Button design, just trying to figure out how I finally got one that I liked. So there's the Nebraska America's Belly Button design. And you can proudly proclaim that JLB is a whore, but he's our whore. That's up there as well. Also, ones for best and worst podcast or worst pay-per-view. So you can either be
Of the year.
optimistic or pessimistic when you go to a pay-per-view. If you're going to a WWE pay-per-view, maybe we're that worst pay-per-view of the year one. You're probably going to be pretty close there.
I
But
have come here to chew bubblegum and talk wrestling, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
mhm.
I'm all out of bubblegum. We ready to talk some wrestling?
Yes, we will talk some wrestling. So, but yes, you can head over
Sure,
to
this is a
Raw and Order WBU.myspreadshop.com and check out all of those designs and pick them up to support the podcast there. Link is going to be in the doobly-doos down below. If you don't want to type out a whole website address, I get it. So yeah, let's talk wrestling. Before we get into it, though, Raw and Order is part of the Tatnus Co podcast network, so you can head on over to tatnusco.com. Link is also in the doobly-doo to view all the other shows in the podcast network and check them out there. Come back here afterwards. Tell them we sent you. But for now, we are going to talk wrestling and wrestling crimes and the shit that went down this week. And like usual, I open it up if DA Fabe has an idea that he wants to talk about first. Otherwise, I will.
Adam Cole Bebe was on Renee Paquette's podcast this last week, and that was a lot of fun to listen to. And that's a premiere part of the week. This week is just I haven't seen Rampage, so I guess I don't know for sure. But Dynamite was good, but there just hasn't been a lot. There's been build up for that one show on the one brand.
Yeah, so the show that is coming up on a brand.
Yeah. And then AEW is post pay-per-view, and so we're a few months out on that. We're building quite the storyline with Bryan Danielson, but really the most exciting thing for me this week was listening to Adam Cole on Renee Paquette's oral sessions. So
yeah,
I don't have a lot crime-wise because of that.
I mean, there are some things that I have for crime.
Expectations were met this week, I guess. Nothing was over the top, nothing was bad.
Oh no, there were some bad things. You just overlooked them for whatever reason. So I will get into my crime. We'll talk about my crime first, because my crime every week I try to say I'm not going to talk WWE, WWE. I'm going to.
I also didn't watch WWE this week.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to let them slide. I'm not going to do it. Well, I didn't specifically watch this because it's SmackDown, and so I was able to just catch the highlights later. But my set this over here because I got to get serious for a moment. We talk.
If I can be serious for a moment.
If I can be serious for a moment. If we talk repeatedly on here over the last 2 years of this podcast about how WWE has the most stacked women's division in wrestling. And it does. I mean, legitimately, from an overall standpoint, they're bonkers stacked, right? And yet they don't use them right.
Lots of them.
They don't use hardly any of them right, but usually they're using some of them right, and so we can kind of go, oh yeah, they're using some right here, some right there. That's fine. We'll do. This week on SmackDown, they featured the first round of the King of the Ween and the King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown.
King of the Ween.
King of the Ween.
You don't have to suckle anymore, fella.
that is going to be a shirt. King of the Ween, the King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown. Which, first of all, I don't know why they couldn't call.
Why couldn't you just say Queen of the Ring? Yeah,
I don't understand that, but that's not really my crime. That's a nitpicky, and I'm angry at it, but it's not really my crime. My crime is, well, here I'm gonna tell you some stuff, and we'll see if you can spot where my crime is, right? So SmackDown this week featured 4 matches, all 4 of them tournament first round matches for their respective tournament, right? So 2 Queen's Crown matches, 2 King of the Ring matches. Okay. So the show started off with Sami Zayn defeating Rey Mysterio in 7 minutes and 58 seconds. And then it followed that up with Zelina Vega defeating Toni Storm in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And then you had Carmella defeating Liv Morgan in 1 minute and 40 seconds. And then Finn Balor defeated Cesaro in 11 minutes and 25 seconds.
Well, at least they gave that some time.
My anger is primarily on the 2 women's matches. Add up to less than 4 minutes total.
Yeah.
Right. They are half as long combined as the Sami Zayn versus Rey Mysterio match was. And that was the shortest of the 2 men's matches.
Yeah.
And they still were half it combined.
And you had the first one of those 2 was work rate match.
Mm-hmm.
The second one's building a feud that's been building.
And I've said this before. I think it's still work rate. I think Carmella is vastly improved over the last few years, and I think Liv Morgan has a heck of a work rate.
Definite work rate, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the first one is hands down work rate. I mean,
yeah. So and I think it's like I've seen all over the internet, the Twitter and Facebook, everyone angry that Zelina Vega defeated Toni Storm because they think Toni Storm's the better wrestler. People angry that Carmella defeated Liv Morgan because Liv Morgan has the fan base and all this stuff. I don't have a problem with the winners. I don't, right? Because there's building storylines. Toni Storm is new. Zelina Vega is more established in some ways.
And heel. So she
and heel, right? And Carmella versus Liv Morgan, that's a feud that's continuing. Build that feud. I'm fine with the winners. I have no problem with them having them win these matches to further storylines down the road and everything. I am angry that out of a 2-hour program, they only could find 4 minutes to set aside for women's wrestling on SmackDown.
Yeah.
4 minutes.
I guess I just, like I said, I didn't really watch SmackDown. My brain was still on draw week or draft week. So, because in my brain, it was draft week is Monday and Friday, not Friday and Monday.
Yes.
And I tune out entirely during draft week because there's just the matches are, hey, quick shot at crossover, quick last move of the title.
Well, so. and the thing is, even that was thrown off this year because we talked about it before. They did the draft week, and then they were like, oh, by the way, these drafts don't go into effect for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks. Right.
Yeah.
You're going to get drafted, but you're still going to be on the that you were on.
The other product line for a while. And you're going to cross over to the one you got drafted to a couple times, too, because
possibly. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah,
so like Finn Balor defeating Cesaro. That's not building a feud. They're going to be on alternate brands in the month, right? Sami Zayn defeating Rey Mysterio. I don't think that's building a feud. I think they're going to be on opposite brands. I'll have to check. I thought Rey was going to Raw, but Sami was staying on SmackDown. But I'll have to check on that. But so those are just King of the Ring matches, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with King of the Ring matches just for the sake of matches. So I don't have a problem with that. My problem is, like I said, you have over 20 minutes. Well, almost 20 minutes of men's matches in 2 hours and 4 minutes of women's matches in 2 hours. When you're building this up as the Queen's Crown tournament, this is where, finally they're equal. They've got everything that the men have. The men have King of the Ring. The women have Queen's Crown. The men have a Hell in a Cell. Women have Hell in a Cell. Men have, Survivor Series matches. Women have Survivor Series matches. Men have Royal Rumble. Women have Royal Rumble. Everything is now equal in those respects. But with those 4 wrestlers, you easily could have put together 2 5-minute matches at least and put them at 10 minutes total, right?
Yeah.
I'm not expecting 30-minute masterpieces on SmackDown, right?
No.
But 1 minute and 40 seconds and 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
But they're not 4 horsewomen, so, shit on them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's Vince's. Do we have a shirt that maybe has something to do with that?
We do. We have one. Here.
It's ridiculous.
Let's show it again.
Shall we scroll up?
So everyone can see it. We're gonna go in on it so everyone can see it in its absolute glory. Here, this guy kind of looks like, sort of looks like a Kevin Owens.
Ooh, yeah, he would rock that shirt.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, get that shirt because fuck Vince. That's my anger this week. That's been the thing. Like, I had another thing that was set aside up until Friday that I was like, oh, this will be my crime of this week.
I'll do that one because I know what it is.
Thing they did here and everything, but
yeah,
then
I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's like we have to kick a dead horse. It's like we have to beat a dead horse.
I seriously, I do not want to shit on WWE so much. I keep seeing all these posts where it's like, share this post if you just like professional wrestling, you don't care what brand it's from. And I really don't. I want both shows to be, I want all shows to be good. Right? I've said that since the beginning of this.
Use their talent and
I said this from the beginning of this whole thing. I said this from the moment that they started the war with AEW. AEW showed up. I was like, this could be the thing that drives Vince to be his best, because it's true. Can't remember who said it this last week. Might have been Russo. It might have been Bischoff. I think it was Bischoff who said it. Who said Vince is at his best and most dangerous when he's got competition.
Yeah,
and it's true. Like, everything good about wrestling in the mid to late 90s to late 2000s, right, all stemmed from
WCW
the war, the
existence,
WCW war.
Well,
right?
and factually speaking, the product is better today than it was 2 years ago. It's just not enough. I don't know.
I don't even know if I'll say factually speaking it's better today than it was. From a wrestler standpoint, yeah. But WWE's product, I don't think is better, and I think the ratings show it.
WWE was 2 years ago.
Than WWE was 2 years ago.
Okay.
I don't think WWE's gotten better over the last 2 years. And that's the thing. I'm disappointed. I'm sad because I wanted WWE to be so much better. And they showed glimpses of it, and they showed some times where, like, the NXT product over the last 2 years was good. It was great. It was the one thing that I enjoyed consistently up until recently. And even then, I'm not even going to shit on NXT 2.0. I don't hate NXT 2.0.
It's not as good as old NXT.
It's not as good as what it was before, but it's got some shining moments. Like Braun Breaker, despite having the worst name in WWE professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, despite that, is fucking phenomenal. Considering a year ago he was playing football. Yes, his father is a Hall of Fame professional wrestler and all this stuff, but a year ago he was not involved in professional wrestling, and he's phenomenal. He's so much fun to watch. And there's some other fun ones that are coming out, and I don't remember his name. They were doing the vignettes for him, the vignettes for him, where he's kind of like a Chicago mobster guy. Some neat things, like when he came out to the ring. I don't know if you caught this on NXT this week. He came out to the ring for his match, and before the match, he walked over and he palmed some money to the referee. Little things like that were just great. I don't have a problem with any. I don't think it's the right move for them from a business and a long-term, standpoint, but I don't have a problem with it. I think the product is fine. It's just WWE's like main shows just keep getting worse. And I was so hopeful that they'd get better. I was so hopeful.
I think they keep getting redundant. I don't know that I would say worse.
I would say redundant equals worse when it comes to professional wrestling. If you just keep doing the same thing, it's the old saying, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing right now on Raw and SmackDown. And it can be redundant, but if you keep doing it, it's just getting worse. And it is. Like, I have no desire to see Charlotte Flair on my screen. Right?
No,
and she's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And I have no desire to see her anymore.
Charlotte Flair is right now nearly Hulk Hogan, just Roman Reigns circa 2014, just being crammed down our throats, and it was just like,
and like I said, they've got good roster. Roman Reigns might be one of the few high points. His heel work on SmackDown is phenomenal. Although I still have issue with them
making Brock a face.
It's not as much Brock a face. It's I have issue with them feeding the
Balor and Brock.
Yeah, feeding
the streak from Balor.
Yeah, the streak. Really. That's what I'm saying. Feeding that to try to raise up Roman. I think there are ways. Well, the biggest way they could have gotten away with doing that is to have not done it, right?
Yeah.
Just don't
you
put yourself into
schmozzed.
Yeah.
Like the end of the day, you have like the build for Brock is there, which gives you a Brock versus Demon or Finn Balor feud as well, since Brock has 6 matches in this contract. You know, you have Brock come out, destroy both of them. Jimmy and Jay drag Roman over on top of Finn.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. But like I said, the biggest thing is just don't do it, right? I've said this before. If you've got 2 wrestlers that you decide you have to put into that you decide you have to protect. You want to protect the win streak for one wrestler. You want to protect the championship for the other wrestler. The key to doing that is don't make them wrestle each other, right? You know, we didn't have to see Demon Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns.
We didn't have to have Seth versus Bray for the title.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bray didn't need the title yet.
Yep.
4 matches in. And this is 2019. Like, that didn't need to happen yet.
Yeah. And that's my point is we didn't need to do this, right? And you could have, it's the Demon part that really makes it on that one. If they would have had Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns in a no DQ match, an Extreme Rules match, and it ended this way, I wouldn't have had as big of a problem with it.
Correct.
Because Finn Balor does not have the undefeated streak, but the Demon King does.
Yes.
And so to feed the Demon to Roman Reigns just to protect Roman Reigns, that's entirely a booking problem, and that's where it comes to be a problem. And that's my thing with that is it's just we didn't need to see that, right? We could have had Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. You know, we haven't seen that in forever. And we won't see it now once the draft takes effect. But anyway,
I can't fault you for that. It's a good crime. It's at this juncture, if it was a misdemeanor, it would automatically become a felony because it's a repeat offender. Shitting on the women's division, shitting on the tag division. Same story, different wrestler, you know. I mean, it's scratch the record, dude. You know, change something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I openly lobbied for. And that scratch the record. Here we go. This is gonna happen. I'm excited. Here comes the scratch record. We're gonna do it finally. It's gonna happen. You don't have to have a title involved for Brock versus Roman. That's perfect. You can still protect Roman. Have Finn Balor win. That would have worked. Scratch the record. Do something different. Other than having a ref stoppage at Hell in a Cell or something stupid. Like every time they do something different, it's so wrong. It's not different. It's the same. Look how I've done something different badly. So I don't know. I have to agree with you.
Yeah, that's why I'm just so frustrated with it. It's like,
yeah, I don't know how to continue to beat the same horse. You're right. You are right. That's the whole thing. So we'll go on to crime number 2, I guess, because
yes, crime number 2.
This might chipper up your spirits, and it is going to be beating a dead horse. but it's going to be a comedic crime. Probably the same one you were going to go after. If you're going to claim to be a wrestling fan and spend a lot of money to bring a premier organization to your venue, regardless of where the venue is, please know who is employed by that venue, by that promotion.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to roll back a couple years to the Saudi Prince's request for one Ultimate Warrior who had already passed and one Yokozuna who had already passed. And then we're going to roll to this year. Several weeks after this had already occurred, requesting that Daniel Bryan and CM Punk come to Saudi Arabia for their matches.
Yeah.
Also, side note, Daniel Bryan refused to go while he worked there. He wasn't taking blood money.
Yes. He and Sami Zayn both refused to go.
And John Cena. John Cena refused to go.
Yeah, John Cena for more political reasons, I think, because he's got his movie career to think about and all that stuff. Sami Zayn is of Syrian descent, and
could easily be.
Yeah, Syria and Saudi Arabia do not get along very well at all.
I mean, it's not Iran, but it's still.
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, it's
still
still
in a country where bloodlines matter as much as they do.
Yeah, it's still very, very bad. It's still very, very bad, and so he didn't. And Daniel Bryan just refused. He just said no. So he wasn't going to come, even if he was working for WWE, right?
CM Punk wasn't going to work for WWE.
Yes.
Ever again.
Ever again.
So I'm going to invite a Saudi Arabian prince to watch this podcast so you can know who the wrestlers are, maybe.
I don't know. Do they have Google there? Just Google it.
Google
WWE roster. I don't see CM Punk or Daniel Bryan on this.
I'd really like to see Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt go at it again.
Yeah. The thing is that they probably legitimately could have done. Like if the Saudi prince had come to Vince and said, "I really want to see Braun Strowman and the Fiend at it," Vince could have said, "Well, let me open up my pocketbook and see if I can even just for a one-off deal, sign them for a one-off deal to come back, do their thing."
It may have happened.
And it may have happened, right? But CM Punk and Daniel Bryan ain't gonna happen.
No.
It
is.
Yeah, not on WWE.
Not Saudi Arabia.
and not in Saudi Arabia, yeah.
And it may not happen with each other.
I think we're probably going to eventually see it, but here's the thing is, I suspicion we're soon, and by soon I mean somewhere within the next couple months, not necessarily tomorrow, but sometime soonish. We're going to see at least one of them turn heel. I would suspicion Daniel Bryan first, but really, CM Punk only has so much face in him, right? He's living off the goodwill of he finally came back, all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean,
right now,
CM Punk's feud with Jungle Boy, CM Punk needs to be a heel.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. He's going to. I think both of them are probably going to eventually be heels. Frankly,
best chance to put people over.
Yep, but for now, they understand. This is, I guess, Tony Khan's smart booking. They understand that right now, with both of them being fresh to the company, both of them being fresh over, from either having not been in wrestling for a long time or in Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson's case, pretty fresh from the competition. They know that they're going to be the faces right now, regardless. Like CM Punk had for 7 years people chanting his name. You're not going to bring him in and immediately turn him heel.
No.
But
no. I think he rides out a year as a face, but that's still right around the corner.
Yeah, I think maybe 6 months as a face. Because both of those people, their best work has been done in heel form. Right. Bryan Danielson had some face runs, the Yes Movement, and all, but frankly, the Yes Movement was just a precursor to a heel turn.
I think that a Jungle Boy Adam Cole feud happens before a CM Punk Jungle Boy.
Quite possibly.
And potentially a CM Punk Adam Cole feud.
I frankly, I would be surprised if we didn't get a rematch of CM Punk versus Darby before we get the CM Punk Jungle Boy feud.
I think Darby needs to come out on top.
Yes, I think they're going to have a rematch where Darby gets his win back.
Yeah,
and that's going to be the thing with CM Punk. But that's also going to be a potential like heel turn moment right there.
Yeah.
Darby comes in. CM Punk starts to use heel tactics to try to get the win. Maybe gets stopped by Sting.
He just did kick Sting.
Mm-hmm. Stuff like that, I think that.
I mean, the promo builds itself. I came back because I wanted to fight another generation of wrestlers, and all these wrestlers are crap. I'm unbeaten, and right now he is.
Mm-hmm. But in the end, I see that being I see that coming in the near future. And I say near again, 3 to 6 months. Nothing with AEW, nothing is near in terms of a week or two, right? Anytime we think something's a week or two away, they pull the rug out from under us. Like we thought we were a week or two away from seeing Hangman Page beat Kenny Omega at All Out. And what did they do? Omega wins
for a little bit.
Omega wins, and then a beatdown, and then Hangman Page disappears for what, a month, 2 months?
Till Wednesday.
Yep, till he showed up on Wednesday.
Hey, good job to him, by the way, getting the chip.
Yes. I mean, as soon as he was the Joker in that, I knew he was winning. Didn't make my enjoyment of the match any less.
Oh, it was fantastic match.
It was fantastic.
Great match.
Loved
Wednesday, I don't want to, like, when I say that this week was a mediocre week, it was what I expected it to be. Monday was a draft day. I didn't watch Friday. Wednesday was exactly what I expected it to be. It was exceptional. It was nice to see Adam Page back. The promos from the Elite continue to be elite. I didn't watch Rampage because I was tired and had to go to bed. So I should go back and watch that. But it was a great week in wrestling. Or it was an expected week in wrestling. Maybe that's the way I should put that.
Yeah. No,
So,
I mean, here's the deal. It's like I thought
outside of wrestling, I have dozens of misdemeanors / commendations.
Yeah, I frankly, I think for me, AEW side, and then including NXT in it, because NXT was fun this week. So AEW and NXT alone, I would say were B+, right? But then Raw and SmackDown pulled it down to B- or C+. As a whole.
It was an average week.
But, we started off Dynamite with the 8-man tag team match. So you had the Elite versus Danielson, Christian Cage, and the Jurassic Express.
Christian Cage doesn't fit as a face.
Yeah.
Ever.
He needs to be the cocky heel.
He fit as a face once when he beat Alberto Del Rio after Edge vacated the title.
And I think that's another thing that I think it's just a matter of time. But again, they're writing out the fact that he's the recent
Impact champion.
Well, Impact champion, but even more than that, he was in the Royal Rumble recently,
True.
and so he's a recent convert from the other side. So they do that. You had Sammy Guevara defending his TNT title against Bobby Fish.
Nice crossover match.
Crossover. They announced afterwards Bobby Fish is All Elite. He has signed. What I don't know. We've yet to confirm whether it's a long-term deal or just a short-term, couple appearance deal or what. I don't know yet on that. But he is at least going to appear in AEW more for a while.
Cool.
Darby Allin defeated Nick Comoroto in a match that was longer than both of the women's matches on SmackDown combined. Serena Deeb turned heel on Hikaru Shida and defeated her, stopped her from getting her 50th win, which is brilliant booking because I know I wasn't the only one. I've talked to people online as soon as they saw that trophy for Hikaru Shida's 50th win, they thought, oh, she's definitely going to get it. So she has this happy 50th win trophy moment.
Yeah.
No.
Swerve.
And then they had the Casino ladder match for the number one contender with Adam Page beating Andrade, Jon Moxley, Lance Archer, Matt Hardy, Orange Cassidy, and Pac. And to be perfectly honest, the only person in that match that I wished wasn't in that match was Matt Hardy. But it was a very, very satisfying Rampage. Tons of fun. Every little bit of fun. They also, have announced the new TBS title that is going to be the women's mid-card title. I have a theory on it. Because my theory is based on this. I don't think it was originally designed to be a women's mid-card title. I think that was a pivot.
I think that they were thinking they were going to do a title, and they were going to let the fans tell them what they wanted the title to be.
I think it's even simpler than that, because up until a month ago, the official announcement was that both Rampage and Dynamite were moving to TBS next year, January 1st. Then a month ago, they announced that the plan changed and only Dynamite was moving to TBS. Rampage is staying on TNT. I think that they already had the belt maker working on the TBS belt, and they were going to replace the TNT title with the TBS title, that this was going to be the replacement. They were going to retire the TNT because that was for TNT, and they weren't going to be on TNT anymore. And then when the plans changed and they were going to still have a show on TNT, they punted and said, well, we've already got this belt being developed. Let's just use it as a mid-card title for the women. And I think the evidence is really simple on this, because it's the same size and shape as the TNT title.
Yeah.
And if you look at the women's world championship versus the men's world championship in AEW, you notice that there's a marked difference in size. Yes. In fact, this new TBS championship is going to be bigger than the women's world title.
I've got the big women's belt. That actually is storyline sometime.
That could be, yeah. But that's why I seriously think they weren't planning on this being a women's mid-card belt. They were planning on this being the replacement for the TNT title when they were no longer on TNT. And then when plans changed and Rampage was going to stay on TNT, they're like, well, we've already got him building this belt. We've already spent the money on this belt. Let's use it. And so now my hope is that they then take the women's title back to the drawing board a bit and make a even bigger version of it, because they've already enlarged it once.
Yeah, I think they're trying to go slow and steady wins the race on that, but yes, I agree.
Yeah. So they've got the new women's title, and there's going to be a tournament held up until Full Gear, for who is the new TBS champion.
That's
I think it's
exciting.
up until Full Gear, but that'll be
an
fun.
exciting development. This will be the first major major production domestically, not Shimmer or anything like that has both women and men in the U.S. that has a women's mid card instead of treating the women's main title like it's a mid card title.
Yes. So that's something that's going to be fun. They also for Rampage, which this is something I'll consider this a minor misdemeanor for AEW here, and it's specifically at a Chicago-made Phil. He comes out on Dynamite and delivers this promo. It's like the second segment of the night. Delivers this promo calling out Daniel Garcia. I got to say it that way because Danny Garcia is the Rock's ex-wife and business partner. So, well, Daniel Garcia. But calling out Daniel Garcia and he said to the crowd, I would, because they were in Philly, he says, I was going to either buy you all cheesesteaks. I was going to let you decide if you want me to buy you all cheesesteaks or wrestle tonight. And they all cheered that they wanted him to wrestle tonight. And then he challenged Daniel Garcia to a match and said, we're going to wrestle on Rampage. Now, here's the deal. I know Rampage films right after Dynamite on Wednesday nights. The fans in the crowd know that Rampage films.
If they didn't know, they were going to find out.
Yeah. But they actually booed for a bit until they realized, oh, wait, that's later tonight. But the people at home, and from a kayfabe standpoint, they play off Rampage as if it takes place on Friday, regardless of whether it's filmed on Wednesday. And that's why this is a minor misdemeanor.
Cabana played it off as though it occurred on Friday.
Yeah.
It was filmed on Wednesday to us.
And that's
live and in person, face to face. Dude, I know it was Wednesday. Stop it. No, we were in New York on Friday, and I just hopped a plane to Kearney, Nebraska.
Yeah, and so that's why it's a misdemeanor towards him. Is that, I mean, dude, know your own product. Say to the crowd, I'll either buy you cheesesteaks or you can see me wrestle on Rampage. Right? The crowd's gonna know the same thing. People at home,
you pipe in the audio.
Yeah. But it's just this minor thing. Just, I mean, I know you've been out of the business for 7 years, but it's important. If a show's going to be pre-taped, you have to pretend like it takes place on the day it airs. That's the way it works. So,
yeah, good. Poor kayfabers.
Yes. But so in the end, Rampage had CM Punk versus Daniel Garcia. Which Daniel Garcia is a future star in the making. The only thing he's missing right now is a good gimmick. And I'm not saying he has to suddenly be the trash man Daniel Garcia or something like that. But right now he's just kind of like angry good wrestler. And I think he needs just something a little more to it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be huge. Like Chucky T doesn't have a huge part to his gimmick. He's part of the Best Friends. He's happy and kind of goofy. That's at least enough to give him something. Daniel Garcia right now is just missing that. You have the AEW World Tag Team title match with the Lucha Brothers versus the Acclaimed. Jade Cargill defeating Sky Blue in 1 minute and 2 seconds, which is exactly. I felt sorry when they announced it was going to be Sky Blue facing off with Jade Cargill because I'm like, oh man, you're just gonna. I mean, but that's what she's there for.
That girl is going to the moon, though. She may be the one who knocks off Britt. I know you want it to be Chris Statlander. She may be the one who knocks off Britt.
I think it's probably going to be Thunder Rosa to be perfectly honest.
I think that's the better story to tell, but man alive, are they pushing
But
her.
Sky Blue, here, the thing with Sky Blue, she's going to be around. She's going to be a big star in the end. Jade Cargill.
I think she got signed, didn't she?
I think she's officially signed, yes.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill is going to be a major player, but she's still a little green, right? Which is fine. And we don't really want to see heel versus heel for the championship. So we got to get the championship on a face before Jade Cargill goes after it. And then, the Philadelphia street fight for the FTW title, Ricky Starks versus Brian Cage, that featured, legal cheating at the end, shenanigans to keep the title on Ricky Starks. But then they also announced that they're going to be doing the number one contenders eliminator tournament leading up to the finals at Full Gear for the world title. And that's led to some confusion by fans who are like, well, isn't Hangman Page the number one contender? He won the ladder match.
Hangman Page has a future title shot.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to use this platform to make sure people understand. You really have to think of the chip as the equivalent of Money in the Bank. It has differences. It's not exactly Money in the Bank.
It's not cash it in whenever you want.
It's not cash it in whatever you want. You still have to arrange for a match in advance, but you're not the number one contender. You just have the ability to cash it in, which means as of right now,
let's see the first AEW title change in a non-one-on-one match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
could have him come out and be like, "This could be the introduction of a triple threat."
Mm-hmm.
To their product.
And that's the deal. So, we assume the main event for Full Gear is going to be Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. That Hangman Page is going to say, "I'm cashing this in for the main event of Full Gear. I want Hangman. Or I want Kenny Omega." And we assume that, and we're probably right. But we're not guaranteed right. He could say he wants to cash it in on Dynamite in 2 weeks, or or whatever. I mean, who knows? Right. But in the end, he is not the number one contender. He just has this get out of jail free card, effectively, that he can use to get that match. So they still have to find a number one contender for the world title. And considering the finals for it are going to be at Full Gear, you could still have Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega at Full Gear.
And have somebody else win the finals.
Have someone else win the finals and
Meaning
be the number one
Adam
contender.
Cole become the number one contender.
Mm-hmm. You could have Adam Cole win the finals, and he's the number one contender. Now he's going to be the person that Hangman has to face.
Yeah, that's a smart move.
Heck, you could even, if you really wanted to, you could set it up with a. I don't think they're going to do it. I'm going to caveat this and say they're not going to do this. I am 90% certain they're not. This is too much of a Vince move, right? But announce that the final match for the tournament is going to be the main event of Full Gear, and that the women's world title match is going to be the co-main event, the second to last, and that the Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega is going to be earlier in the show. And you have Hangman Page beat Kenny Omega and win the belt. And then you have Kenny Omega go and do some shenanigans and get put into the final match of the tournament and win the tournament to become the number one contender to say, I want my shot at the title. They could do that. I don't think they're going to, but that's something they could do.
I will say I humbly believe that we should have two-time champions before Adam Page is the champion. I believe that Moxley should beat Omega and Omega should re-beat Moxley. That's my thought process. I think we're ready for the two-time AEW champion.
I don't disagree with you on being ready. My disagreement comes down to Moxley right now. I think in AEW Moxley has cooled.
I agree, but there's announcers were talking about it this week. That Shimani said Moxley got screwed. He deserves this title shot.
I think, frankly, I think Moxley right now for AEW has to build him up, and it's going to take.
I think he's a victim of the fireworks shows. Honestly,
yeah, I think that, but I think even more than that, I think he's a victim of himself for this reason. I think he wants to do too much in the professional wrestling world. Outside of AEW as well, and I don't blame him for this, right? But he just wrestled a death match versus Nick Gage yesterday, and won, and it was a bloody match, and it was all this stuff. I think those outside AEW things kind of hold him back in AEW.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so, but I mean, if you look at Moxley's recent past on AEW, let me find it here. John Moxley and Cage match. His recent matches on AEW do not main event make, right? Because he was in the casino ladder match, right? But on Dynamite the week before, he teamed with Darby and Eddie Kingston to go against Bear Country and Anthony Green. And yes, it was a squash match, but it's still, right? And then before that, he had the Lights Out match with Eddie Kingston versus Suzuki Gun. He had a match versus 2.0. He had his singles match versus Suzuki, which was 8 minutes long and ended disappointingly. He had his match and All Out with Kojima.
Lights Out match.
Yeah, they did, right? But he had his match against Kojima at All Out. He teamed with Eddie Kingston and Darby Allin against Chaos Project on AEW Dark Elevation a month ago.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. He hasn't.
I think he's. I mean, heck, he had a match against the Wingmen on Dynamite back in September. I think that he's just cooled so much, and not necessarily due to anything other than I think fan reaction to him right now is low. I just don't think he's ready for a run at the title again. He's got to build himself back up for it. And I think some of it is going to be he's got to go on a monster run for a while. But I also think that it's time for a change with Moxley. He's had 2 years of being a renegade Stone Cold face in AEW. And I think it's time for a renegade, more rock heel John Moxley, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Where cocky, I can beat anyone, I don't need the fans, I'm my own support, sort of a thing. And I think they could do that with him versus Hangman. Hangman as the champion and Moxley being like, I never lost that championship. Well, I lost it, but I got screwed out of it, right? And I want it back now, and I'm going to destroy anyone I can to get it back. But I mean, keep in mind, we've only had Dynamite for 2 years.
Yeah.
We talk about a 2-time champion, but WWE didn't have a 2-time champion in the first 2 years. Even when they became WWF, right? Got rid of the third W. They still didn't have a 2-time champion for years, right? So I'm fine with that. And frankly, this is the time where AEW has to start hitting those pillars of AEW that they talk about, hitting the thing. And Hangman Page's roof on top of the pillars. Right now, it's important to note for a company that people say is just a bunch of WWE knockoffs, just a bunch of WWE cast-offs, right? None of their champions are former WWE guys. None of them are.
Correct.
And Hangman Page winning would just help solidify that too.
Yeah.
Moxley winning, as much as I like him and everything, I just see that just bringing the WWE fanboys out again, saying, "Oh, look, see, they just had their ratings were down. They had to put it back on a WWE guy because blah 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 blah." Whether ratings are down or not, they're gonna say it.
So you had one misdemeanor there. It looked like.
Yes, sort of, kind of a rambling misdemeanor.
Yeah. We're gonna roll around with lots of misdemeanors here because, I have a couple of misdemeanors. Number one to Big E. When you go to Iowa City and appear on television for your alma mater to root for them in their match, their football game with Penn State, which was one of the top 3 games this weekend in college football. When you go there and you have such an incredible introduction where you go, oh, I for the life of me do not understand why you don't do that for Iowa City. And don't you dare be sour. Clap for your Iowa Hawkeyes and feel about like that should have happened. I don't care what if you're gonna be on television, and he was on Fox noon kickoff.
I somehow wonder if he didn't get word from above that they didn't want him to do it, and not from ESPN or Fox or whatever. I'm talking about Vincent McMahon, that he wants that to be a WWE thing. It's stupid if it is, but
that's a horrible decision.
I think it is a horrible decision, but I somehow or another, this is just me spitballing, but.
And I'm sure you didn't watch that. I happened to be able to watch that or catch just the Big E segment and went, why are you not doing this right now? Like, this is something you should be doing. So that's one of my misdemeanors. A misdemeanor to Adam Cole Bebe for playing the political card on Renee Paquette's podcast and saying, I just want Kevin Steen to go where he's happy, or Kevin Owens to go where he's happy. F you, bud. You know damn good and well where you want him to go, and admit it. It's a minor misdemeanor. Golly, there's just a ton outside of it. There was another one, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was free agency related. I can't remember what it was. Didn't really matter. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Those are my misdemeanors for outside of wrestling that involves wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a nitpick with AEW Dark and Dark Elevation a bit, and that's just the fact that they've had at least Dark for almost 2 years now. I don't think they started it right away. They might have started it right away. Let's see.
No, it was a couple weeks after, I think. Like 2 months after. But still almost 2 years.
AEW. Why does Dark not show up on Cage Match? Anyways, but I think it's time for them to set a time limit and a like format for Dark and Dark Elevation that's not just, hey, let's throw a bunch of matches on it and
here's a YouTube show.
Yeah. And so, here it is. That's 4 hours long. Now this next week it's 50 minutes long. That's where I start to get a little frustrated because you're like, hey, let's tune into Dark on YouTube, and you're like, well, holy shit, it's like 4 hours long. It's not, I think, but some of them are like an hour and a half long, and others are 40 minutes long. So like anyways, it's just like part of it is Dark is so focused on just being the wrestling show that it's like, here's a match, here's another match, here's another match, here's another match. They don't really do any analysis of the match. They don't talk about the matches. They don't really do backstage promos on it. And I think all of those things should be necessary on those, right? Turn it into a real show. But also then say it's a real show. The televised versions of it are going to be on YouTube, but they're each going to be an hour long. Not an hour and a half, not 48 minutes. Let's make them an hour.
1 hour long. Yep.
Period.
Or 2 hours.
Or 2 hours or whatever, right?
Consistent, though.
But yeah, consistent. I think it's just time for them to do that because, like, if you go on here, I'm just going to fire up YouTube.
Now, would you be okay if they did a dark channel, AEW dark channel, and then just individual matches over and over and over and over and over and over?
I wouldn't hate it, but I would prefer. Like I said, I like the idea of dark and all of that, but
of an internet-based television show.
But let's see here. Got to scroll back a bit to get to the dark. Okay. AEW Dark from this week was 1 hour and 24 minutes long with 13 matches on it. Dark Elevation was 51 minutes long, 10 matches on it. Last week, Dark was 11 matches, 1 hour and 12 minutes long. Elevation was 38 minutes long. The week before that, Dark was 14 matches, hour and 47 minutes long. Elevation was 9 matches, 54 minutes long. And it's just like ping pong around. But again, it's just this match after match after match. And it's all, I mean, I know they're, especially now they're filming it down at Universal Studios. The announcers aren't there. So whoever's commentating on it isn't there. They're filming it in the booth and post. I get it and all that stuff. But, you know, if you're going to use it for development, you still need to have some sort of storylines going on it.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Because they're referencing some of those things. When Hikaru Shida came out on Dynamite this week, they referenced that, you know, she'd been on a 9-match winning streak on Dark, right? So it's canon. It's making a point on it. So let's make some promos on there. Let's do some stuff. Let's turn it into a real show instead of just random number of matches on there. And then that gives you a chance to actually have dark matches that aren't part of canon, that don't get aired, that you still record and you can hold for later, you know, never before seen online match.
Yeah.
Right. Exclusive, never before seen content.
Available only on Facebook or only on Twitter.
Only on Facebook or only on Peacock. Don't go Peacock. Don't go to Peacock.
You can't pause it.
Don't go to Peacock. Just don't. Do HBO Max. Or fucking Shudder. I don't care.
Anyway. So I do have I think you're right with that as a misdemeanor. Do you have any other pure misdemeanors that roll over commendations? Because I have several commendations too.
No, we'll go ahead and move on to commendations.
I have actually a misdemeanor that rolls to a commendation.
Okay.
I have a misdemeanor against what I can only believe is COVID. But it may have been other reasons. There has not been a statement released as to why Friday's Zilla Pro event did not occur. But so the misdemeanors against the Zilla Pro event not occurring, and the commendation is if it was for any reason at all that's public health related. Good job, Zilla Pro.
Yeah.
Don't.
Their announcement said something about operational reasons. which is really
vague. Well, I think they're treading the line that there are people who are unvaccinated. There are crazies on both sides of the fence in terms of the political spectrum, and I'm not trying to get to any political part, but who would condemn either way with any statement they made. And so, smart move to not make a statement, just to say we're postponing. I commend them if it's the outbreak that's occurring in some northern cities as it cools down. That's absolutely fine. I understand either way.
I just want them to finally upload Thunderstruck to Indie Wrestling TV.
I want to see me. I want to see me.
I just want to see the matches again. Those were good matches.
Yes, they were.
Tons of fun.
They were. So that is both a misdemeanor and a commendation. Misdemeanor against whatever caused it. Commendation for doing the right thing, because I can only assume it was based on doing the right thing. The first commendation also rolls over to that same misdemeanor. Big E, man, you are entertaining as all get out. And you played for Iowa, and I'm a Nebraska fan, so I'm not supposed to like you, but still do. So there it is.
It doesn't hurt that he like humps the belt on the turnbuckles.
Anyway,
oddly fascinating.
It's true. It's so true. Almost damn true.
It's almost damn true.
Yeah. The other commendation I really, really wanted to make. Number one, I have not enjoyed a professional wrestler's baseline podcast as much as I enjoyed Adam Cole on Renee Paquette. And I've listened to several Jericho and Stone Cold, and there's a lot of fun history there. But there was a genuine friendship. Oh, there's a misdemeanor. I forgot. How has Adam Cole never faced Jon Moxley in a match? That's the only other one. That needs to happen.
It do.
Anyway,
it really do.
I deeply enjoyed that podcast. It was a lot of fun to listen to. I listened to it today, so it's been 6 days out. Just a lot of fun. It really was a ton of fun to listen to Adam Cole talk about everything from his relationship to Britt Baker to congratulating Mox and Renee to his thoughts on WWE and the guy genuinely is a guy who, yes, we all know he wants Kevin Steen to go to AEW.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'd love to work with him again, but I want him to be happy. And I really, truly believe he's the kind of guy who that's not a political statement for him. That's I think he genuinely wants people to be happy in their roles and whatever they choose to do. And so that's a commendation to him for that. And then last but not least to AEW. I did not realize this page existed till this weekend. It's probably been there a lot longer. In fact, I know it has because I scrolled down. But their Twitter account for enhancement talent is freaking gold. What a gift to those enhancement wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
To Bob Wilson of North Carolina, or Jeff Hardy, who's going to take this loss to, and he didn't have the name Jeff Hardy, but he's going to take this loss to Razor Ramon in 1996. That event, that occurrence, those things happening, by featuring those wrestlers and saying, hey, they're not just these people we put into Job Out. These are real wrestlers. And if you enjoyed seeing them, if you're excited about them, go check it out. Obviously, Sky Blue and Heather Reckless were on that. Those are two people you and I have both said are future stars. Hopefully they land in AEW. I think Heather Reckless legitimately is probably 5 years away from main eventing a women's roster.
Yeah.
She's that entertaining.
She's super entertaining. I think the thing that is going to hold her back, and
it's her height.
Is her height and it's not even that it's going to hold her back in most promotions. There's just one promotion that we can point out.
We already have an Alexa Bliss. We don't need another Alexa.
That's going to be like, we don't need a smaller Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
We went as small as we're going to go with Alexa Bliss.
Yeah. You're really quite tiny, aren't you?
Yes.
So yeah,
and
I
would
would
fun if Alexa Bliss brought her in as her mini me.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. She could be
her
Lily.
Mini.
Oh, she could be the new Lily. Lily actually has a physical form now.
But so, yeah, no,
But that page is so cool. That's a massive commendation to AEW. We've given them commendations for supporting the indies. We've given them commendations for letting their wrestlers move to the indies. Now you're featuring the indies as a product line of your own, not by stealing them, but to say, go watch these people. Literally, AEW is doing 10 times what we are in terms of saying watch indie wrestling. But you know, we didn't steal it from them or anything. We went to an indie show and said, this is what needs to happen.
Yep. So, I've got small commendation for Warhorse. If you're not following him on Twitter, follow him on Twitter. He's absolutely hilarious. And he gives workout advice, like on how to work out your neck muscles headbanging while you work out your other muscles. And so follow him on there. But he had a great gimmick. He's been doing a Ask Warhorse thing where people send him messages, but of course it's people who tweet at him, but he actually writes them on an envelope, seals the envelope, and then rips open the envelope to answer them on air. And one of the most recent ones was, is Warhorse family friendly? And you got to watch the whole video because but he eventually ended up coming up with a way to be family friendly. Says if you're a little one, a kid, or you're a family member with a kid or whatever, and you want Warhorse to sign your thing, instead of ruling your ass, he's gonna write "Bossin' Butts." Because he came up and ruling. No, we're not going to do ruling, right? Ruling is so what's something similar to rule? A boss. We're going to bossing, right? And ass. No, we can't do ass. So what do we do? Butts. So we're bossing butts, and he's legitimately signing kid stuff. Bossing butts. Keep bossing butts. It's awesome. Follow him on Twitter. He's hilarious. All of his tweets are in all caps because that's rock and roll.
And he literally does yell a lot.
Yeah, he yells a lot. It's kind of the way he talks. I think there just needs to be, maybe we just need to create a award on here for top tier trolling on Twitter. That needs to go out because Buddy Matthews deserves the award for top tier trolling all the time.
No. Matt Cardona is still the best.
Matt Cardona is up there as well, and I'll get to him. But for top tier Twitter trolling, Buddy Murphy, who on Wednesday before Dynamite just tweeted out a Joker card. That's it. And got all the world talking. The entire internet wrestling community was like, oh, there's Buddy Murphy saying he's going to be the Joker. He wasn't the Joker. This was trolling. It was getting people talking about him. Right?
Yeah.
Another nominee for that award is Paige. Her official Twitter 1 hour ago. So this is breaking news. Her official Twitter tweeted out a simple picture. It has the emoji, the emoji, and then the picture is just a picture of her wall where she's got the Divas Championship belt hanging, the poster for Fighting With My Family hanging, and her wrestling boots in front of it. Is she going to come back?
We know that she hasn't really Like I thought it was a never again thing for WWE.
I thought it was as well.
Gargano threw that similar troll out this week.
Yeah, I mean, he removed any message of WWE from his Twitter handles, you know.
And there's no evidence, there's no story that he's no longer under WWE contract that I've seen anywhere.
Just removes it. I mean, his contract ends soon.
Yes.
But from what I've read, all reports in backstage in WWE is that they have plans for him. They do not currently have plans for him to not be with the company. And so they're still working to sign him. But for him to do that, that's expert leverage trolling because that gets people talking about it. Now, to your comment, Matt Cardona deserves his own segment here because he's been trolling. So much trolling GCW fans, trolling hardcore wrestling fans, all of this stuff. But he gets his commendation because he won back his Internet World Championship at GCW yesterday, with help from Chelsea Green showing up in GCW for the first time in what reportedly was a really good match. So he's living his best life right now.
Yeah.
Also want to throw out a commendation to the Inspiration for finally officially being announced for a wrestling event.
An event, yeah.
They are going to be wrestling for Impact Wrestling at Bound for Glory.
There is no word of a contract yet, though.
No word of whether it's a contract, long-term, short-term, one-off deal. You know, we don't know anything, but they're at least going to be there for this appearance. And that's fine. You know, I'll take them for one appearance. I'll take them for multiple appearances.
Is it sad that I actually miss Billy Kay's irritating stuff? Like, I haven't really been watching their Insta recently and their little segments that they do. Mostly because I think they've been tapering back because they've been training to get ready. So, but I genuinely miss hearing Billy Kay be just as wonderfully irritated as she is.
I also I wanted to check something here because one of the matches at GCW, I'm really gonna have to try to find Joey Janela versus Suzuki. They went for 20 minutes. I'm going to have to find that match.
Their style of match.
It's
terrifying.
I also this is a 3 years late belated commendation, but we weren't doing the podcast 3 years ago. So to Hikaru Shida, because she tweeted out this picture from 3 years ago of her after a match. Her upper chest area looks like hamburger meat.
Yeah, she's been taking some chops.
Yeah.
Like Miro level chops.
Oh, jeez. Which then made me think that's what we should have done. We jokingly asked wrestlers to frog splash me at the Zello Pro one, but we should have said how much would it cost to give him a chop on video.
No, you'd have paid it.
What? I would have paid it, and we would have got video of me dying, but it would have been
for you. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to take those chops.
No, I'd do it. My wife would have hated it. But
she was like, why didn't you have Fabe do that?
And I'd be like, because he was the one with the money.
I'll take a chop so you take one from Jonathan Gresham next time. And I'll take one from Heather Reckless. I'm not 100% sure she could reach all the way to my chest, so this could be more dangerous for me.
Well, you could be on your knees.
Fair.
And her on a chair.
And then we'd be staring eye to eye at each other.
Yeah.
She's really
small.
Her and Swoggle had she had Swoggle by about 4 inches. It wasn't much.
It really wasn't, no. And we love Heather Reckless. And one of the things I might not have mentioned before, one of the things I'm so angry is due to an error that is entirely on me. I had Heather Reckless record an intro to the podcast, and it did not get saved properly.
Had several.
I had several women of there. Heather Reckless, Brooke Valentine, Valentina Loca, Kayleen Keene. I had all four of them record, but due to a technical problem entirely on me and my phone, none of them saved properly. And I'm so angry because
this is why Zella Pro needs to come back.
Yes, they need to come back.
Because we'll go. 2 tickets sold already.
Yeah.
Probably like more than that because I'll probably take my kid.
Looking for a place to replace the one you had to postpone up in Milwaukee, right?
Omaha.
Need to do a new one? Yeah, Omaha, right here. Ralston Arena is just down the street for me. If that's too big, there's another one not too far. There's a bunch of places
that are big enough for Omaha.
Yeah, there's lots of places.
I mean, if you want to come to Kearney, I suppose you can. But there's a bigger town with more arena capabilities.
Mm-hmm. Even Lincoln,
just down the road. Lincoln,
yeah, plenty of places there. Heck, the Bellevue Berry and Pumpkin Farm has a event facility. Rent that out. We'll go there. I don't care.
Babel's Barn in Wood River, Nebraska. I don't care. Get us there.
But yes, we would be there. And be square. We will be both, right? So
I would be ashamed if Zella Pro was regulated to Babel's. Not that Babel's is a bad facility, but it's a wedding shop. That's what it really is.
But anyway, so on that note, I think we'll bring this episode to an end.
Yeah, relatively early.
Episode, but
it was. I mean, the facts are there was a lot of really great commendations and misdemeanors and stuff that was just small stuff. On the big items, it was the same shit we've said before.
Yeah.
And it was the same company we've said it about. Or the same Saudi Arabian prince. I don't know how else to say it without just calling it out.
Yeah. I've said before, I'm debating on changing the name of the podcast to just officially Pissant Podcast so that I don't feel like I have to talk WWE as much. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and close the book on the wrestling booking unit. Make sure to check in the doobly-doos down below. There's going to be links to all our socials and all that stuff. But most importantly, there's links to ways to support us, right? You can support us on Patreon. You can support us on our merch store. Go get some of that sweet, sweet, sweet merch that we've talked about.
Oh, wait. Never mind. It's Nintendo
like
merch.
This.
That. There we go.
Sasha Bear, or the Pissant Podcast, or the Fuck Vince one.
Very applicable for some reason at the end of the year. Every year.
Yes. That one right there. That one. Right there. You can do that one.
For some reason, every time I see it, I see fuck me, which is okay because I guess my name is Vince. So.
Yep.
But I go by Vincent.
But you just want people to know that you like wrestling and tacos? Get a wrestling Let's Taco About It one.
If you're from Nebraska or would like to mock Nebraska.
Yep. You know, wanna support your love for the horror JLB.
Soon he'll be back.
He'll be back soon. Yeah.
We'll present it as an actual shirt on the site to him at that point.
Those Who Can't Wrestle podcast. That really describes why we podcast. It really is.
I'm glad that you did put the VKM Wrestling Incorporated on there. Because television wrestling isn't dead. But it is not as interactive.
Yeah.
Even if you're an AEW show, you're not going to be as interactive as you were and like Zello Pro or any number of them.
I'm working on an updated version of the Not a Cop shirt.
Not Cop?
Not Cop, because that's exactly why I'm working on the updated version of it. It's because if you don't have it on a dark colored shirt, it can make it really, really hard to do. In fact, I had to turn off the white colored backgrounds for it. But even that, you put it on a light colored shirt like this, it's kind of hard to see that.
Tough to see. Yeah.
A little tough to see. The pink, it's not too hard, but so I'm working on an updated version of that, but I'm trying to see if maybe a redesign isn't worth it. Anyways, but that's a great way. So you can go there, easy to find at rawandorderwbu.myspreadshop.com. But the link is in the doobly-doos down below, which makes it even easier to find. And we're adding new designs all the time. Like literally, you see all of those that say new. Some of those were added mere minutes before we went on air. And so I'm just putting out designs. I'm going to fill this page with as many designs as possible. I can't wait to go to a WWE podcast wearing the worst pay-per-view of the year so far shirt, or go to an AEW pay-per-view wearing the best pay-per-view of the year so far.
But that's I mean, there's going to be times on AEW where you won't be able to wear that again in the year. For example, I highly doubt that you'll be able to wear that at Full Gear.
Possibly.
It'll be a struggle for you.
But if I was going to Full Gear, I would definitely have the wrestling autograph shirt with it.
Wow, that's an amazing shirt.
Mm-hmm. It's so amazing. I have it hanging on my wall right back there.
It is also our most requested shirt by actual professional wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
So, like literally, they've said, please get this over with fans. So they start bringing these to our shows. They're so much easier to design.
So yeah, you can support us on there or on the podcast, or the Patreon page there. You can support us by following us on YouTube. If you're on the live stream or viewing the live stream on either Facebook or YouTube, make sure you like that page. But head on over to YouTube and follow us there, because that helps us out a lot to get as many followers on there as possible. Even if you're not going to use YouTube to watch it, head on over there and click that subscribe button. But yeah, the other way you can support us, though, is just sharing it with your friends. Just, you're listening to the podcast, just click share, Facebook, share, Twitter, share, Instagram, doesn't matter. Say, listen to this podcast. I really like it, because we'd love to get more people interested in this and spread the love of professional wrestling around.
Also, this week they can support us by going and voting in the poll for Cheerios being the worst cereal of all time.
Oh.
Don't say shredded wheat.
It's shredded wheat, but
it's Cheerios.
But you can also follow us on social media. I'm at Raw and Order WBU, just like you see right there. I had to go full screen because it cuts off half of my thing. DA Fabe is
at DA Vincent Kayfabe. Obviously have been on Twitter a little more. I don't tweet itself, but I do actually comment on other people's stuff. So
yep.
If you tweet at me, I might retweet you, or I might, something.
Respond. Who knows?
Yeah, respond.
But yeah, and you can follow JLB at all the links there in the doobly-doo for him. He's, like I said, taking a break because he's got a new internship and some school stuff and work stuff and all of this stuff going on. So he needs that. And, he's cheating on us with another podcast.
Well, that's the internship, right? He's learning how to actually know something about the stuff. I mean, maybe.
No. The podcast he's cheating on us with is just another wrestling podcast. But they're not wrestling cops. They just talk about it. It's just at a more convenient time for him. We're really late. I get it. But he'll be back, and he's our whore. He's ours. I go and raid that podcast every time they're doing the live stream. I say JLB's a whore, but he's our whore. But anyways, that will bring us to the end of the WBU, the Wrestling Booking Unit. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you soon.
Bye.